TCI is brought to you by Northern Fleet, standing at tailor-made stallions, sire of 5 millionaires and 6 Grade 1 winners. Find out more at northernafleet.com.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Triple Crown. I'm John Siegel alongside Joel Cunningham. Joel, we have another major Derby prep this weekend as the focus shifts to Oaklawn for the $500,000 Rebel Stakes.
It's the big one this weekend, John, as that Arkansas path has really gained prominence on the Kentucky Derby Trail in recent years. We've seen the Rebel Stakes become more and more of a popular race for these 3-year-olds. You know, this race is a Grade 2, but now they're giving away $500,000, so you get a full and contentious field in here. But you know what? It's not the only race going on this weekend that we need to take interest in on the Derby Trail. There's an important allowance race Friday at Gulfstream. We'll talk about that.
All right, let's bring in Ed DeRosa from BristNet.com. He's our expert handicapper. Hey, Ed, thanks for coming on the show again.
My pleasure. Another exciting weekend of racing, guys.
Yeah, it really is, Ed. Listen, before we talk about the Rebel Stakes, I want to talk about a key race at Gulfstream. It's only an allowance, but we see Gemologist and Currency Swap in here.
Well, I'm hoping it's a key race for my pocketbook because I've been waiting for Gemologist to run back so I could bet against him. I'm just not a believer, and the fact that a Grade 1 winner shows up in here definitely has me licking my chops for this wagering opportunity. So I'm definitely looking at Currency Swap.
Well, let's switch over to the headliner on Saturday, the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes, Ed. You know, what's interesting about this race is you get a lot of horses coming back from the local prep there, the Southwest Stakes, but it was sort of an intriguing dynamic in that there were 2 divisions of the Southwest. How do you decipher the form between the 2 races?
Well, the thing I'm excited about is, to me, you know, you look at the Brisk speed ratings, and clearly that second division with Secret Circle and Scatman was faster than the first, and that's going to be the basis of my handicapping going into the Rebel. And I expect Scatman to offer a little bit of value. He got a 102 speed rating, which compares very favorably to the whole crop, let alone the others in this group. And he'll certainly go a much longer price than Secret Circle, even though they were pretty close on the wire in the Southwest.
Well, you mentioned this 3-year-old crop. Where do these Rebel 3-year-olds stack up against the rest of the 3-year-old crop in terms of speed ratings?
Secret Circle certainly is in that group, and not just based on a Brisk speed rating, but Secret Circle, I would say, has been the consistently fastest 3-year-old of his generation, even faster than Union Rags when you look at all their starts. He just fires triple-digit Brisk speed rating every time he goes out. I don't expect that to change in the Rebel, but if Scatman improves at all, he could surpass Secret Circle, even though he couldn't do that in the Southwest. But in terms of consistently fast horses, none have been more so than Secret Circle this year.
Well, Ed, you mentioned Secret Circle. Obviously, he's a fast horse. I'm wondering, how far does this horse want to go, though?
I definitely have some concerns whether he'll be able to fire his best shot going a mile and a quarter. I don't think he would disgrace himself. Eddington, you would think, helps based on having a Grade 1 winner at a mile and 3/16 in the Pimlico Special. But if you look at the average win distance that Brisk provides in the Ultimate PPs, you'll see that Eddington's progeny typically are middle distance or even sprint types. So there's definitely some concern about how fast Secret Circle can go going 10 furlongs. I guess we'll see how fast he goes going 9, but he's certainly been very fast going 8.5.
Hey, thanks, Ed. Great insight. Good luck this weekend at the window.
Yeah, you too. Look forward to seeing how it shakes out.
That's Ed DeRosa with BristNet.com. Joel, let's talk about the allowance race first. Ed was a little harsh on Gemologist. I think the horse has got a shot in here. Yes, Currency Swap's faster, but I think he's got a chance.
Gemologist has reportedly been working well in South Florida, John. He's been working with older allowance horses, faring very well in the morning. We've seen fast works. I think he was fitter from his workouts in Versailles at Windstar Farm, as we saw with Double's partner a couple weeks ago. So I expect him to be ready for this race. However, he breaks from the rail. I know he's undefeated and he's classy and he has a big heart, John, but around one turn he faces a legitimate Grade 1 horse like Currency Swap, who I think is going to control the speed in here and be very tough to run down over that track. So I want to see him finish well in here to set him up for his next start.
All right, Joe, before we talk about the Rebel, there's some concern here because both of these horses were nominated to the Rebel Stakes. They both opt for this allowance instead. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you know, it makes you wonder how the Oaklawn racing office had the flight structure to South Florida. Usually in these big races, these racing offices set up flights from New York, Gulfstream, you know, South Florida, certainly California, to really try to lure the best thrills that they can. Unfortunately, in this case, the reports are that Gemologist and Currency Swap horses from South Florida couldn't participate at Oaklawn Park because there was no return flight back to Ocala, John. So they didn't want to have to run a race and Connections having to van the horses all the way back. They wanted to be able to put them on a plane. Didn't happen, so unfortunately you're just going to get California and local Arkansas participation in the Rebel.
Well, you say we're just going to get, but we're getting some really good horses out of California and also there at the home track at Oaklawn. Joel, let's run down a couple of these horses. We just talked about Secret Circle, but I want to hear about Sabercat. He's making his 3-year-old debut.
Yeah, Sabercat is making that highly anticipated 3-year-old debut. You know, here's Steve Asmussen's best shot at the Kentucky Derby this year. He really broke through in the Delta Jackpot. Beat a decent field for that race's standards. It was on a bull ring, it was at nighttime, and we haven't seen him since, but he showed that improvement, and I know Steve Asmussen is really looking forward to his 3-year-old debut in here, but it's still a prep for the Arkansas Derby in its first race of the year. Don't expect an A-plus performance, but I think it should be a good gauge on how good he is facing horses coming out of the Southwest like Scatman and Secret Circle.
All right, you talk about Secret Circle. Ed mentioned it as well. Joel, this horse is very fast. There were some rumors that they may keep this horse at sprinting distance, but Bob's going ahead and running him again.
Well, I think Bob's had taken a hit into his Derby horses. I mean, you look at Empire Way, you know, horses like Fed Biz that have come off the Derby trail now. Bob's barn has been hit, his 3-year-old barn. So I think as long as this horse is showing that he can handle the distance, kind of like the Factor last year, they're going to keep going with him because realistically, if you look at his last 2 starts, Secret Circle, he's shown the ability to rate just off the pace.
Right.
So he doesn't have to have the lead in here, John. He successfully rated off the pace in both those races, particularly the Southwest Stakes, and he showed finish to run down a horse like Scatman. So as long as he keeps showing that, I think he's surprising Bob Baffert. They're going to keep him on the trail. This is only a 1.16 mile race, and I still think he's your horse to beat in here.
All right, well, Bob keeps Castaway and Secret Circle away from each other. He's now going to send Castaway to the Sunland Derby.
Yeah, and we have breaking news as we've seen Bob Baffert shift his 3-year-olds around. You remember last week when Bob Baffert put Bodemeister in the San Felipe when Fed Biz got hurt. Bodemeister was going to point for the Sunland Derby. Now, next week in the Sunland Derby, they're going to run Castaway, not bring him back to Arkansas this weekend. And in turn, the horse that was going to run in the Sunland Derby, Painter, is now going to the Illinois Derby. So Bob moving around his 3-year-olds. Very interesting to see Painter in his second lifetime start pointing for the Illinois Derby. So they're keeping him on the Kentucky Derby path. Watch out. He's in our top 10 as well.
Well, one thing about Bob Baffert, you can't question him. He knows what he's doing with these 3-year-olds.
Yeah, absolutely. 3-time Derby winner. I mean, how can you question? He's been red hot. So very interesting to see all of his runners, and really starts this weekend again with Secret Circle.
All right, thank you, Joel. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back on Monday. We'll recap all these races.